Hi, in this short video, I'm just going to talk to you about what's happening with the house prices in the UK right now. This video is designed just to share with you some stats and some background so you can make an informed decision about what you want to model at. Now, there's two websites you can use to look at the history. One is nethouseprices.com and one is Google Land Registry house price data, and you go on the Land Registry websites and see it. So you'll see that what I'm saying, you can go back this up and see for yourself rather than just take it as what Aran said. Okay, now that's the national average. People then say, well, you know, it goes up more in the south than the north, so what's the average in different areas? Well, over time, what's interesting when you go research this properly is the north goes up percentage wise as much as the south. If you have £1 million property in London, $1 million in Birmingham, $1 million in Manchester, $1 million in Newcastle, over time they go up the same. Isn't that interesting? Over time they go up the same. The newspapers are based where? They're based in London, so they report on the London prices the most. And you say the market, the average property is up £30,000, and people in the north go, mine's never going to go up £30,000. It doesn't need to. 10% increase in London is £30,000. 10% increase in Newcastle is maybe £8,000. So it's about the portfolio size and then the percentage it goes up. So if it goes up the same in the north as the south, how does that work? Well, in the last 5-6 years, London's up about 80%. About 80% growth in that 5 or 6 year period. Different parts are different, but roughly. It washes out. The outer metropolitan of London is then up about 40 to 50%. Then it goes to East Anglia, up about 45%. Then it goes down to the southwest, up about 38%. The Midlands, for this bracket, up about 20%. East Midlands, West Midlands, maybe 22. Then it goes up to the M62 corridor, and then on up to Newcastle. Newcastle, at the time of recording this, is only up about 6% in that 6 year period. However, professional investors understand that it's a wave. It goes up first in London, and it kind of washes out almost along the motorway network to the next place, to the next place, to the next place. But it's also like a wave when it stops. It slows down in London first, then it washes out like a wave. Then it stops or even drops in London, 2007-8, drops in London first, then it washes out and drops in other places. Over time, it goes up the same. It's just that if the £1 million in London doubles over the next 10 years, then the Midlands might be 3 years behind. The M62 corridor might be 3 or 4 years behind London. Newcastle might be 5 years behind London, but it will still double over the next 10 years. And for that reason, serious professional investors with millions of pounds worth of property in London are coming to us and saying, will you buy for me in the Midlands? Will you buy for me in that M62 corridor? Because we know that's the next part of the wave to go up. We know London is reaching the higher part of its price range. You know, some people think it's stopping now. Some people think it'll grow for another 2-3 years. I personally think it will probably grow for another 2 or 3 years. You can have some slowdown, but keep growing. Don't have a crystal ball. No one can guarantee that. But they're saying, do you know what? We've got another 2-3 years of growth here. But if we buy in the Midlands, we've got that 60% to catch up plus the 2 or 3 years of growth. If we buy on the M62 corridor, we've got 70% of growth to catch up plus the 2 to 3 years of growth. So we're better buying there now to catch that piece of the wave. Now, in the long-term picture, it's not about catching the wave. So, you know, in the long-term picture, you're buying and holding property for the long term. It doesn't matter where in the wave we are from my point of view when I buy. The sooner you're in, the better. Because when you get in, you benefit from cash flow and you benefit from equity going up in value. Now, as an investor, you want both to be at the table, but both won't be at the table every year. What matters is over time that both are at the table. That's why we make sure any properties we buy have great cash flow, and any properties we buy are in certain locations to guarantee at least the national average. Okay, so I'm not covering them on this video, but you know, our C's, our 6 C's, those key rules are in place to make sure we get great cash flow and great equity growth. And what happens over time, by the way, is both happen over time, but sometimes at different times. So early 2000s, we've got house prices rising really, really quickly. So the house prices are rising really, really quickly, and rents, supply and demand, more people are buying, so less people are renting. Rents are still rising, but more slowly. Okay, 2007-8, people go, this is crazy, it's more expensive to buy than to rent, I'm going to rent instead. So supply and demand, rents start rising very, very quickly, house price just has a little correction, and then rises more slowly. Then people say, hang on a minute, 2012 in London, for example, it's more expensive to rent than it is to buy, I'm going to buy it instead. So rents start to slow down, they're still rising but slow down, and house prices start rising. Now the beauty is, sorry for these flapping wings, It isn't that it's a seesaw and it crashes back to zero again. It's a ratcheting system. It keeps ratcheting up. So, and by the way, every economy around the world, you study this, supply and demand, and it's the same, okay? So here's the beauty of this. As an investor, if I'm in it short term, it matters where we are on this cycle. If I'm trading property, it matters where we are. But if I'm in it for the long term, and this is about the long-term growth and long-term picture, I don't mind what's happening specifically this month to rent prices or house prices, or even this quarter, or even necessarily this year. What I mind is over time, when the rents are rising, my cash flow is great and I'm making great rental profit. But as my base, I have great rental profit anyway, great cash flow. And when the equity is rising, I'm able to release. Now, this one's the more important one in the longer term, okay? But I want them both. And over time, I get them both. So I make sure I buy correctly, so both are going to be at the table. I make sure I buy correctly, so I'm always cash flow positive. You're going to do that if you invest with the Insight Group. That's what we do. And then over time, I'm winning either way over time. Hi guys, it's Aaron here. Did you enjoy this week's video? If so, there are 3 things you can do to continue your property investing journey. The first is you can click here and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I really hope you do, because then each week I can keep sending you great educational videos just like this one, so you can keep developing your property knowledge. Secondly, you can click the link here and get a free copy of my book, The Property Coach, where I teach the 9 steps to really truly successfully building a property portfolio. The third thing you can do is click here and go to my website, www.arancurry.co.uk, and there you can subscribe for free to my newsletter. And what that means is you'll get loads of free educational content in lots of different forms, and also any of our promotions or offers that we run are also there on the website and also in those e-newsletters. Again, helping you move forward with your property investing journey. So if you want to take action, just click any of these 3 boxes or all 3 and move forward to the next level. And in the meantime, invest with knowledge, invest with confidence, create financial freedom. Thank you.